Dr. Jun Kim looked up at the night sky from the roof of the South Korean Aerospace Research Institute. The stars shone brightly above Seoul. It was late, nearly midnight, but he couldn't sleep. Something about the data readings from earlier that day bothered him. Another late night, Dr. Kim? Jun turned to see the security guard, Mr. Han, walking toward him with a thermos. "The stars keep me company," Jun said with a smile, accepting the offered cup of hot coffee. "You scientists and your stars. My wife says I should have studied harder in school." Mr. Han laughed and continued his rounds. Jun sipped the coffee and turned back to the sky. That's when he saw it. A strange light moving in a way that neither satellites nor planes moved. It grew larger by the second. His phone rang. It was his boss, Director Choi. "Are you seeing this, Jun? Get to the main observatory now." Jun ran, down the stairs, nearly spilling his coffee. By the time he reached the observatory, the room was already filled with his colleagues. Everyone stood silent, staring at the main screen. There, hanging in Earth's orbit, was a massive ship. It looked like a giant seashell, smooth and shimmering with colors that shouldn't exist in space. "What is it?" someone whispered. "It's not one of ours," said Colonel Hannah Park, who had just walked in wearing her military uniform. As the head of aerospace defense for the region, she looked surprisingly calm. "And it's not Chinese, Russian, or American either. The next 12 hours were the most important in human history. The alien ship, because what else could it be, sent no messages at first. Instead, it just hung there, silent and watching. World leaders called emergency meetings. Military forces went on high alert. Regular TV shows were replaced with news about the orbital visitor. Jun worked without rest, studying the ship's energy readings. "It's like nothing we've ever seen," he told Colonel Park. "The power output is impossible by our standards." "Hostile?" she asked directly. Jun shook his head. "No weapon signatures that I can detect. But that doesn't mean much when we're dealing with completely alien technology." At exactly 12 hours after its arrival, the ship broadcast a message. It came through on all frequencies, in all languages, simultaneously. "People of Earth, we come in peace. We are the guardians. We have traveled far to protect your world." The message played on every TV, radio, phone, and computer around the world. 3 days later, a United Nations Emergency Council selected a first contact team. To his surprise, Jun found his name on the list along with Colonel Park's. "Why me?" he asked Director Choi. "Because you were the first to detect their energy signatures. And because you ask good questions, Jun. We need someone who asks good questions." The trip to the ship happened on a perfect cloudless morning. A small shuttle from the alien vessel descended to a prepared landing area in neutral Switzerland. Jun sat beside Colonel Park in the helicopter that would take them to the meeting point. "Nervous?" Hannah asked him. "Terrified," Jun admitted. "You?" "I stopped feeling fear years ago," she said. But her tight grip on her seatbelt told a different story. The alien shuttle looked like a smaller version of the mothership, pearly, smooth, with no visible engines or doors. Yet when it landed, an opening simply appeared in its side. From it emerged the first alien seen by human eyes. The being called itself Elan. It, Jun couldn't tell if it had a gender, stood nearly 7 feet tall with a slender body that seemed to glow slightly from within. Its skin was pale blue, and where a human would have hair, it had what looked like thin flowing tentacles that moved gently as if underwater. "Welcome," said the UN Secretary General, stepping forward. "We represent the people of Earth." Elan bowed slightly. When it spoke, its mouth didn't move exactly like a human's would. "We are honored to meet you. As we said, we are the Guardians. We have traveled across many star systems to reach you." "And why have you come to Earth?" asked the Secretary General. "To protect you," Elan said simply. Colonel Park stepped forward. "Protect us from what exactly?" The alien's face changed slightly. Not quite a human expression, but something shifted. "The universe is vast and dangerous. You need not concern yourselves with the details. We offer our protection freely." Jun noticed how the alien avoided. The question. As a scientist, he knew that vague answers usually hid something important. Over the next few hours, Ilan explained that the Guardians were part of a galactic civilization that had been watching Earth for some time. They had decided that humans had reached a level of development that qualified them for protection status. They would build a defensive system around Earth, something they called the Shield, and share some of their technology with humans. In return, they asked only for permission to establish bases on Earth and its moon. Many of the human representatives seemed excited by the offer. After all, the alien technology could solve problems like disease and energy shortages. But on the helicopter ride back, Colonel Park was quiet. "What's bothering you?" June asked. "They never answered my question," she said. "Protect us from what? And why now? We've been here for thousands of years. Why do we suddenly need protection?" June nodded. "I noticed that too. And did you see how they described their civilization? Galactic implies they control multiple star systems, which means they're either incredibly peaceful explorers or conquerors," June finished her thought. Back on Earth, the news of the Guardians' offer spread quickly. Most people welcomed the aliens with hope and excitement. News shows featured experts talking about the benefits of alien technology. Religious leaders debated what this meant for their faiths. Children drew pictures of the blue aliens and their pretty ships. 1 week after first contact, June received a call from a number he didn't recognize. "Dr. Kim, this is Colonel Park. Can you meet me at the Han River Park in 1 hour? Bring no electronic devices. Tell no one." The secrecy surprised him, but he agreed. When he arrived, Hannah was sitting on a bench watching the water. "I've been assigned to the military liaison team for the Guardians," she said without greeting. "They're establishing their first Earth base next week." "That's good, right? You'll get to see their technology up close." She turned to him. "They requested you too. They want you to head the scientific exchange program." June felt a mix of excitement and worry. "Me? Why?" "They said they were impressed by your questions during the meeting." She paused. "I think they're watching us more closely than they admit." A family walked by, laughing as their dog chased a ball. Normal life continued, despite the extraordinary events happening above their heads. "Something isn't right," Hannah said quietly. "Why would advanced aliens travel so far just to protect a planet they have no connection to? What do they really want from Earth?" June thought about the strange readings he had detected from the ship, about how carefully the alien had avoided certain questions. "I don't know," he admitted, "but I think we should accept their offer to work closely with them." Hannah raised an eyebrow. "Keep your friends close," June said with a serious face, "and your mysterious alien protectors closer." For the first time since they'd met, Colonel Park smiled. "I think we're going to work well together, Dr. Kim." She stood up. "Get ready. Starting next week, we're going to find out what the Guardians are really protecting Earth from, or what they're protecting it for." As June walked home, he looked up at the night sky. The alien mothership was visible now, a new star that outshone all others. Beautiful, mysterious, and potentially dangerous. Humanity had just taken its first step into a much larger universe. June just hoped it wouldn't be our last. 3 months had passed since the Guardians arrived. Dr. June Kim stared at his computer screen, rubbing his tired eyes. The clock on his wall showed 2:30 a.m., but time seemed meaningless these days. Since joining the scientific exchange program, he had been working nonstop. The Guardians had begun building what they called the Shield, a network of satellites that would orbit Earth. They said it would protect the planet, but they still hadn't explained what it would protect Earth from. June's new office was in a special building created just for human Guardian cooperation. The room next to his belonged to his new assistant, Sue Lee. She was young, brilliant, and didn't trust the aliens one bit. A knock at his door made him look up. Sue stood there, holding 2 cups of coffee. "You're here late," June said, accepting the coffee gratefully. "So are you," she replied, sitting down across from him. "Any progress?" June shook his head. "The energy readings from these satellites don't make sense. The Guardians say they're defensive, but the power configuration doesn't match any weapon system." Sue finished his thought. "I've been running my own tests. These satellites seem designed more for observation than protection. June nodded. In the months since the Guardians arrived, they had shared some technology with humans. Medical advances, cleaner energy methods, faster computers. But they kept the important details secret. Have you heard from Colonel Park lately? Sue asked, lowering her voice even though they were alone. Not for 2 weeks, June said. She's been busy with the lunar base inspections. The Guardians had started building something on the far side of the moon. They called it an extension of the shield, but only allowed limited human access. June's phone buzzed with a message. Back on Earth, need to meet, same place, 10 a.m. tomorrow. Speak of the devil, he said, showing Sue the message from Hana. The next morning, June met Colonel Park at the same bench in Han River Park. She looked tired, with dark circles under her eyes. The lunar base is not what they claim, she said, without greeting. It's much larger than they reported to the UN. How much larger? June asked. At least 3 times the size, and they're building underground as well. She pulled out a small tablet and showed him satellite images. We only got these because one of our military satellites passed over at just the right time. June studied the images. What had been described as a small research outpost looked more like a major installation. What's in all that space? He asked. They wouldn't let us see, claimed it was sensitive equipment for the shield. Hana's face showed her frustration. Whenever we ask direct questions, they give vague answers about cosmic threats and standard protection protocols. June shared what he and Sue had discovered about the satellites. They're gathering data about Earth, detailed scans of everything from our oceans to our atmosphere to our cities. Why would they need that for protection? Before Hana could answer, June's phone rang. It was the Guardian liaison officer requesting his immediate return to the facility. Elan wanted to speak with him. When June arrived, he found the tall blue alien waiting in the conference room. Even after months of contact, June still found the Guardian's appearance strange, the way its tentacle-like hair moved on its own, how its skin seemed to glow from within. Dr. Kim, Elan said, its voice musical and calm. I understand you have concerns about our lunar facility. June tried not to show his surprise. How did they know about his conversation with Hana? Just scientific curiosity, he said carefully. The base seems quite extensive for its stated purpose. Elan's face made that strange shift that June had come to recognize as their version of a smile. The lunar facility is merely an extension of the shield. Your planet's satellite is an ideal vantage point. Vantage point for what exactly? June asked. What are we being protected from? The universe contains many dangers, Elan said, using the same vague phrase they always used. Some beyond your current understanding. Trust that our only goal is Earth's safety. After the meeting, June went straight to Sue's lab. She was working with one of the Guardian devices, a small silver cube that could analyze materials at the molecular level. They're monitoring us, he told her quietly. They knew about my meeting with Colonel Park. Sue nodded, not looking surprised. I suspected as much. That's why I've been developing this. She showed him what looked like a normal watch. It creates a small field that blocks their sensors. I think they use sound and electromagnetic waves to track us. How did you figure that out? June asked, impressed. By studying their technology and noticing patterns. She handed him the watch. Wear this when you meet with Colonel Park next time. That night, June couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about what Elan had said, and more importantly, what the alien hadn't said. After tossing and turning for hours, he got up and drove to the office. The building was mostly empty at night, with just a few security guards. June went to his lab and began reviewing all the data they had collected on Guardian technology. Around 3 a.m., he noticed something strange. The power usage of the Guardian equipment spiked every day at exactly the same time, 4:27 a.m. It lasted exactly 12 seconds. What are they sending? And to whom? He muttered to himself. June called Sue, who arrived 20 minutes later looking sleepy but alert. Look at this pattern, he showed her. Daily transmissions at the exact same time. Sue's eyes widened. That's not going to Earth facilities. The signal strength suggests it's aimed off-planet. Can we intercept it? June asked. Sue thought for a moment. Not with our current equipment, but... She looked at the Guardian devices, in their lab. Maybe we can modify some of their own technology. For the next week, they worked secretly to build a receiver that could capture and decode the Guardian transmissions. They told no one, not even Colonel Park. The fewer people who knew, the less chance of the Guardians finding out. Meanwhile, the shield continued to grow. Dozens of satellites now orbited Earth, and people had grown used to seeing them as bright points of light crossing the night sky. Most humans welcomed them, believing they were being protected from some unknown space threat. Finally, their receiver was ready. At 4:25 a.m., June and Sue sat in their lab waiting. The modified Guardian device hummed softly between them. 2 minutes, Sue whispered, watching the clock. What do you think we'll find? June asked. Nothing good, Sue replied. People who tell the truth don't need secret transmissions. At exactly 4:27 a.m., the receiver lit up. Data began flowing across their screen, complex codes and symbols they couldn't read. But their computer translated what it could. Sue gasped as the first readable parts appeared. This isn't a protection report, she said, her voice shaking. This is a resource inventory. June leaned closer. The transmission contained detailed scans of Earth's mineral deposits, water reserves, and atmospheric composition. There were also strange sections that seemed to catalog Earth's plant and animal species, including humans. They're not protecting us, June said slowly. They're studying us, like scientists studying a lab specimen, or like farmers checking their livestock, Sue added grimly. As the transmission ended, they looked at each other. The truth was now clear. Whatever the Guardians wanted with Earth, it wasn't about protection. We need to tell Colonel Park, June said, reaching for his phone. And then what? Sue asked. Their technology is far beyond ours. If they aren't really here to protect us. June finished her thought. Then we need to figure out what they really want before it's too late. Outside, the dawn light revealed several Guardian satellites crossing the morning sky. What had once seemed like protective angels now looked like watching eyes, and Earth was completely surrounded by them. Colonel Hannah Park stared at the data on the screen, her face showing no emotion. But June knew her well enough now to see the tension in her shoulders, the tight grip she had on her coffee cup. You're absolutely sure about this? She asked. June and Sue nodded together. They sat in a small room in the basement of an old library. No electronic devices were allowed except for Sue's special computer that blocked all signals. They had all left their phones and watches in another building. To avoid being tracked, we've captured 3 separate transmissions now, Sue explained. Each one contains detailed information about Earth's resources. They're mapping everything: minerals, water, plants, animals. And us, June added quietly. They're studying humans too. Our numbers, where we live, even our genetic makeup. Hannah set down her cup carefully. This matches what we found. The lunar base has massive storage facilities, much more than they would need for a simple defense outpost. Storage for what? Sue asked. That's what we need to find out, Hannah replied. I have an idea, but I need help from someone who knows Earth resources, someone we can trust. The next day they met Jin Kang, a geological expert who had worked with Hannah in the past. He was a quiet man with kind eyes and a serious face. June knew him by reputation. He was one of the best in his field. Jin studied the data they had collected. Unlike many people, he didn't seem excited about the Guardian technology. These scan patterns are familiar, he said finally. I've seen similar surveys done by mining companies before they start a new operation. You think they want to mine Earth? June asked, surprised. Jin nodded slowly. This is how you prepare for resource extraction. You map everything of value first. He pointed to certain sections of data. They're especially interested in rare minerals, the kind used in advanced technology. But why pretend to protect us? Sue wondered. Why not just ask to trade? Maybe what they want isn't for sale, Hannah suggested. The four of them formed a plan. They needed more information, and they needed allies. Most importantly, they needed proof that would convince world leaders that the Guardians were not the protectors they claimed to be. Over the next month, they worked carefully to avoid Guardian detection. Jin analyzed the alien scans and identified which Earth resources they seemed most interested in. Sue focused on intercepting and decoding more transmissions. Hana used her military connections to monitor Guardian activities around the world. June had the hardest job. He had to continue working with the Guardians while hiding his suspicions. One day, Elon invited June to observe a new SHIELD satellite being launched. They stood in a special room with a large window overlooking the launch area. "Your people have adapted quickly to our presence," Elon commented, "faster than most species we encounter." June's heart beat faster at this casual mention of other aliens, but he kept his face calm. "Humans are good at adapting. It's how we survived on Earth for so long." "Yes," Elon said, turning those strange glowing eyes toward him. "Your survival instinct is remarkable." Something in the way Elon said survival made June's skin crawl. He changed the subject. "The shield is almost complete now. When will you tell us exactly what it protects us from?" "When the time is right," Elon replied with that not-quite smile. "Some knowledge is a burden until one is ready to bear it." Later that day, June met the others at their secret location. "I think they're planning something soon," he told them. "Elon almost slipped and mentioned other aliens they've encountered, and the shield is nearly finished." "We've had a breakthrough," Sue said, excitement in her voice. She showed them her computer screen. "I managed to decode more of their language. Look at this transmission from yesterday." They all leaned forward to read. "Asset preparation. 92% complete. Native species containment protocols ready. Extraction can begin after final shield calibration. Estimated time, 1 local solar cycle." 1 solar cycle. That means 1 Earth. "Year?" Hana asked. "I think so." Sue nodded. "They're planning something within a year." "Extraction." Jin repeated the word slowly. "They're not just planning to mine resources. They're planning to take them away." "And what does native species containment mean?" June asked, though he was afraid he already knew. "It means us," Hana said grimly. "They plan to contain us, like animals in a zoo." The weight of this discovery hit them all. The Guardians weren't protectors. They were preparing Earth for some kind of massive resource extraction, and humans were just another factor, to be contained during the process. "We need to take this to the United Nations," June said. "With this evidence, they'll have to listen." But when they presented their findings to UN officials, the response was disappointing. Many world leaders had become strong supporters of the Guardians. The aliens had shared medical technology that cured several diseases. They had helped solve energy problems in poor countries. Their popularity was at an all-time high. "These transmissions could mean anything," said one official dismissively. "You're jumping to conclusions based on partial translations." "We need concrete proof of hostile intent," the UN Secretary General told them. "Otherwise, we risk offending the most advanced allies we've ever encountered." Leaving the UN building, the four friends felt defeated. "They don't want to believe it," Jin said sadly. "The Guardian gifts have made them blind." "Then we need better evidence," Hana decided. "Something they can't ignore." Back in their secret meeting place, they formed a new plan. If the official channels wouldn't listen, they would have to find another way. "We need someone inside their operation," Hana said. "Someone who can access their main computer systems." "That's impossible," Sue objected. "Their security is too tight, and they can probably detect human DNA." "Not their main ship," June agreed. "But what about their diplomatic corps? They have humans working with them as translators and cultural advisors." "I know someone," Jin said quietly. "My cousin, Dae Yoon. He's a linguist who recently joined the Guardian diplomatic team. He's brilliant with languages." "Can we trust him?" Hana asked directly. Jin nodded without hesitation. "With my life." A week later, they met Day in a quiet corner of a public park. He was younger than June expected, with bright eyes that missed nothing. After hearing their concerns, he agreed to help. "I've had my own doubts," Day admitted. "The Guardians never speak freely when humans are present, but they forget I'm there sometimes when they talk among themselves. My job is to study their language, so I notice things." "What kind of things?" June asked. "They're not a unified species," Day revealed. "They represent something they call the Consortium, a group of alien civilizations that work together, and Earth isn't being protected." His voice dropped lower. "It's being quarantined for resource extraction." The 5 of them now formed what they later called the Human Verification Initiative, a secret group dedicated to discovering the Guardians' true purpose and warning humanity. "The shield isn't keeping dangers out," Day explained as their meeting ended. "It's designed to keep us in." As June walked home that night, he looked up at the night sky. The Guardian satellites were clearly visible now, forming a web around Earth. What had once seemed like protection now looked like a cage, and time was running out. 2 months had passed since the Human Verification Initiative formed. What started as 5 people had grown into a global network. Scientists, military personnel, engineers, and ordinary citizens who shared one belief: the Guardians were not Earth's protectors. June sat in a small apartment that served as one of their many meeting places. Around him were Hana, Sue, Jin, and Day. The walls were covered with maps, diagrams, and printouts of Guardian technology. "The shield is complete," June reported. "All 218 satellites are in position." "And the lunar base?" Hana asked Day. "Nearly finished," the young linguist replied. "I overheard 2 Guardians talking. They mentioned something called the harvest. It begins in 6 months." The room fell silent. 6 months until whatever the Guardians planned would start. "We need to understand their technology better," Sue said, breaking the silence. "If we ever need to fight back, we need to know how their systems work." "Fight back?" Jin looked worried. "Their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours." "Maybe, not as much as we think," June said. "Sue and I have been studying the Guardian devices in our lab. Some of it is just more advanced versions of our own tech." Sue nodded excitedly. "Their communication systems, for example. We've made progress reverse engineering some of their smaller devices. And I've been working on their language," Day added. "The more we understand, the better we can predict their actions." Hana stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. "While you all work on technology, I've been preparing people. There are military officers in 20 countries now who know the truth. They're ready if we need them." As the meeting continued, each member reported their progress. The Human Verification Initiative had grown carefully, recruiting only those they could trust completely. They now had people inside many Guardian-Human joint projects around the world. Most importantly, they had managed to stay hidden from the Guardians. Sue's anti-detection devices had been distributed to all members. As far as they knew, the aliens had no idea about their group. But one question remained. How could they convince the world leaders and general public about the Guardians' true intentions? The next day, June returned to his lab at the Guardian-Human research facility. He had become skilled at playing his role, the excited scientist grateful for alien technology. Inside, however, he was memorizing everything he saw, looking for weaknesses in Guardian systems. Elan entered his lab without warning, as the alien often did. "Dr. Kim," the Guardian said in that musical voice, "your work has been exceptional. The consortium is pleased with your progress." This was the first time Elan had openly mentioned the consortium. June pretended not to notice. "Thank you," he said, smiling. "Your technology is fascinating. We have decided to invite you to join." "The selection," Elan continued. "Selection?" June asked, genuinely confused. "A great honor," Elan explained. "When a harvest cycle completes, certain native individuals are selected for preservation. They continue to exist within the consortium's biological archives." June's blood ran cold. "Biological archives? I don't understand." "Your planet has unique life forms," Elan said, as if explaining something simple. The consortium preserves samples of all valuable biological material before extraction. With horror, June realized what Elon was saying. The Guardians planned to take samples of Earth life, including some humans, before they stripped the planet of resources. And the rest of humanity? June asked carefully. Those not selected will be relocated to containment habitats, Elon replied. Comfortable but controlled environments. The consortium is not cruel. June struggled to keep his face neutral. I'm honored by the invitation. When would this selection happen? Soon, Elon said. The shield calibration is complete. The harvest ships will arrive within 6 lunar cycles. After Elon left, June waited exactly 30 minutes before requesting a break. He walked calmly to the bathroom, locked the door, and threw up. That night, the 5 core members of the initiative met again. June told them about his conversation with Elon. They're going to take everything, he said, his voice shaking. Resources, selected animals, plants, and a few lucky humans for their archives. Everyone else gets put in containment habitats, which probably means zoos or labor camps. 6 lunar cycles. That means 6 months, Day translated. Same timeline I heard them discussing. We need to act now, Hannah said firmly. No more collecting evidence or building our network. We need to expose them and prepare Earth to fight back. Fight back how? Jin asked. You said it yourself. Their technology is far beyond ours. Not all of it, Sue said. She opened her laptop and showed them what she and her team had been working on. We've been reverse engineering Guardian tech, their defense systems, their communication networks, even some of their weapons. How? Day asked, amazed. They underestimated us, Sue said with a small smile. They think humans are primitive, so they're not as careful around us as they should be. My team has been collecting small pieces of their technology for months, studying it, learning how it works. So we have some of their technology, Jin said. But they have ships and weapons we can't match. We don't need to match them, June realized. We just need to take control of what they've already put in place. The shield, Hannah said, understanding immediately. If we can control those satellites, we could use them against the Guardians, Sue finished. But we would need access to their main control systems. That's on their mothership or at the lunar base. I might be able to help with that, Day said. As part of the diplomatic corps, I sometimes travel to the lunar base. With the right preparation, I could access their systems. It's too dangerous, Jin objected. If they catch you, if we do nothing, Earth is doomed anyway, Day said simply. They spent the next month preparing. Sue created a special device that could interface with Guardian computers. Hannah activated her military contacts, preparing them for possible conflict. Jin worked with scientists to analyze Guardian weaknesses. June continued his work at the facility, gathering information and keeping Elon's trust. And Day prepared for his mission to the lunar base. The day before Day was to leave, they gathered one last time. The mood was tense but determined. Once I access their main system, I'll have about 3 minutes to download their command codes before they detect the intrusion, Day explained. If I succeed, we'll be able to take control of the shield. And if you fail? Jin asked quietly. Day didn't answer. They all knew what failure would mean. If anything goes wrong, Hannah said, we move to Plan B. We use what we have and broadcast the truth to the world. With or without control of the shield, humanity deserves to know what's coming. June looked at each of his friends. In a few months, they had gone from strangers to the most important people in his life, and now they might be the most important people in human history. Whatever happens, he said, remember that we tried. Even facing beings from across the stars, we didn't just accept our fate, we fought back. The next morning, Day boarded the Guardian shuttle to the lunar base. His face was calm, but his hands trembled slightly as he waved goodbye. As the shuttle rose into the sky, June looked up at the bright points of light that made up the shield. Soon, they would know if humanity had a fighting chance against the coming harvest. The countdown had begun. 3 days had passed since Day left for the lunar base. 3 days without any message. June, Hana, Sue, and Jin gathered in their meeting room, faces drawn with worry. "Something's wrong," Jin said, pacing back and forth. "He should have contacted us by now." "Not necessarily," Hana replied, though her voice lacked conviction. "Communications from the moon are monitored. He has to be careful." June was about to speak when Sue's computer beeped. They all froze. A message appeared on the screen. Just 3 words. "Plan B now." They looked at each other, understanding what this meant. D had been caught or something else had gone wrong. Either way, they needed to act immediately. "Start the broadcast," Hana ordered. Sue's fingers flew across the keyboard. For months, they had prepared for this moment. They had gathered evidence, testimonies, and secret recordings. Now they would share it all with the world. "We're live in 30 seconds, Sue announced. "The signal will override regular broadcasts in most countries." "Are we sure about this?" Jin asked quietly. "Once we do this, there's no going back." "We're out of time," June said. "The harvest ships arrive in less than 6 months. Humanity needs time to prepare." Sue's computer began the countdown. 10, 9, 8. Across the earth, television screens, phones, and computers suddenly showed the same image. June, sitting at a simple desk, looking directly at the camera. "People of Earth," he began, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "My name is Dr. June Kim. What I'm about to tell you is difficult to hear, but you must listen. The aliens who call themselves the Guardians are not here to protect us." Over. The next hour, the Human Verification Initiative broadcast everything they had learned. They showed intercepted Guardian transmissions, translated their true meaning, and explained the aliens' plans for the harvest. Hana appeared, explaining the military implications. Jin revealed the resource extraction plans. Sue demonstrated how Guardian technology really worked. "The shield is not protection," June explained. "It's containment. The Guardians, or the consortium they represent, plan to extract Earth's resources and take samples of our life forms, including some humans. The rest will be relocated to what they call containment habitats." As expected, chaos followed. People around the world reacted with fear, anger, and disbelief. Government officials scrambled to respond. The Guardians themselves went silent, their ships hovering in orbit without any communication. 2 days later, the Guardian mothership finally responded. Elon's face appeared on screens worldwide. "These accusations are unfortunate misunderstandings," the alien said smoothly. "We have only sought to protect your world from cosmic threats. The humans making these claims have twisted our words and misunderstood our technology. But it was too late. Too many people had seen the evidence. Too many. Scientists had confirmed the initiative's findings. And most importantly, people had begun to question why the Guardians had never explained what they were protecting Earth from." 1 week after the broadcast, something unexpected happened. A small ship appeared from the direction of the moon and landed near the initiative's headquarters. From it emerged Day, looking exhausted but alive. "I didn't think you'd make it," June said, hugging his friend tightly. "Neither did I," Day admitted. "They caught me downloading their files. I barely escaped." "Did you get the command codes?" Sue asked eagerly. Day smiled and held up a small device. "I got something better. This is a Guardian control key. It doesn't just give us codes. It gives us direct access to their systems." That night, as the 5 friends celebrated Day's return, they received word that Guardian ships were moving. The mothership had changed position, and shuttles were returning from Earth to space. "They're preparing for something," Hana said, studying the reports. 3 days later, they found out what. New ships appeared in orbit, massive vessels that dwarfed even the Guardian mothership. "The Harvest Fleet," Day whispered. "They're early." Panic spread as the huge ships took position around Earth. Then, a new alien face appeared on worldwide broadcasts. Unlike Elon's humanoid features, this being looked more insect-like, with large compound eyes and mandibles. "People of Earth," the alien said in a harsh, clicking voice. I am Admiral Zor of the Consortium Extraction Fleet. Your planet has been selected for resource harvesting. Resistance is pointless and will only result in ecological damage that would reduce the value of your world. The alien continued, explaining that selected humans would be preserved in biological archives, while the rest would be humanely relocated to habitation spheres. You have 2 of your days to prepare, Admiral Zor concluded. Designated selection centers will be established in major population areas. After the broadcast ended, the 5 members of the initiative gathered with military leaders from around the world. The situation looked hopeless. The alien ships were too numerous, their weapons too powerful. We still have one advantage, June said. They don't want to damage Earth. It would reduce the value of the resources they want to take. And we have this, Day added, holding up the control key. With Sue's help, I figured out how to use it. For the next 2 days, they worked without sleep. Sue and Day focused on hacking the shield using the Guardian control key. Hana coordinated with military forces worldwide. Jin worked with scientists to analyze potential weaknesses in the alien ships. June found himself meeting with world leaders, explaining their plan. Many doubted it would work, but they had no better options. As the deadline approached, humanity braced itself. Some people fled to remote areas. Others gathered in large groups seeking safety in numbers. Many simply stayed home with their families waiting for the end. Then, at exactly 1 hour before the consortium's deadline, the shield activated, but not as the aliens had planned. "We're in," Sue shouted, her fingers dancing across her keyboard. "I'm redirecting the shield now. Around the Earth, the 218 satellites that had been placed to contain humanity suddenly changed position. Rather than pointing down at Earth, they now faced outward, toward the consortium fleet. Firing sequence initiated, Day announced, working. Alongside Sue, beams of energy shot from the shield satellites targeting the consortium ships, not to destroy them. The weapons weren't powerful enough for that, but to disable their communications and weapon systems. At the same time, military forces around the world activated equipment that had been modified using Guardian technology. Jamming signals disrupted the aliens' coordination. In orbit, confusion spread through the consortium fleet. They had expected a defenseless planet, not one that could use their own technology against them. Admiral Zor's ship sent out emergency signals trying to regain control of the shield, but Sue had locked them out using their own security protocols. "It's working," Jin said in amazement, watching the displays. "They're pulling back." The consortium ships began to retreat, moving away from Earth's orbit. Not all of them, several, still maintained position, including the Guardian mothership. "We're receiving a transmission," Hana reported. "It's Elon." The Guardian's face appeared on their screen, no longer calm and serene. "This action violates all consortium protocols," Elon said angrily. "Return control of the shield immediately." June stepped forward. "No, you came to our world under false pretenses. You claimed to protect us while planning to take our resources and cage our people." "Your species is young and volatile," Elon responded. "We merely sought to manage your resources efficiently. You would have been relocated and compensated." "We don't need your protection or management," Hana said, joining June. "What we need is respect. Earth is not for sale or harvest." "You cannot hope to stand against the consortium," Elon warned. "Our technology is millennia beyond yours." "Perhaps," June replied with a small smile. "But in just months we've adapted enough of it to make any invasion prohibitively costly. And now we know you're out there, and what you're capable of." What followed was not the war they had feared, but negotiations. The consortium, faced with unexpected resistance and the potential damage to valuable resources, agreed to withdraw their harvest fleet. Earth would not be harvested. Instead, it would be recognized as an independent world, free to develop without interference. And humanity, having glimpsed the wider universe, would never be the same again. As June stood with his friends, watching the alien ships depart Earth's orbit, Sue asked the question that would guide humanity's future. "What else is out there that we should know about?" June smiled, looking up at the stars that no longer seemed quite so distant. "Let's find out." on our terms this time.